Did I wear a giant sweatshirt today that says Hello Fall just so I could have the theme of October? Yes. Is it way too hot outside to wear this? Also yes. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with October's TBR. So it is time to do my October TBR, my basket of reads for October. Now, October is going to be a little bit of a bizarre month because I have a couple of vlog ideas that I really want to do in the month of October that are pretty intensive. Well, there's one that's pretty intensive, and I didn't plan very well for this month because I'm also, in my personal life, I am in a show, like a little community theater show that's taking place at the end of October. So we're really getting down to all of the need to be there a lot during the week for finalizing rehearsals and things like that. So not only do I have a lot of things to read, I have not a lot of nights to do them in. And so we are just gonna hope and pray for October, and we'll see what this TBR is gonna be. I have a lot. I kind of went on a deep dive of some spooky little graphic novels I could throw in here or there to give me the spooky spirit of things that I want to read, but also to give myself a little bit of a break because it's going to be a little bit of a crazy month and we're just gonna see what happens. So who knows what this TBR is going to be. We'll see how much of the plans that I have I can fit in. I have a couple of things that I know for a fact I'm not going to be able to fit in anywhere, and then there's some that I'm just really hoping that the prompts are nice to me. So that's a little bit of a look at my October. I know there's 1,000 different readathons, but I'm not personally participating in any. I usually do Becca's Bookoplathon, and she's making it like a spooky Spookoplathon this month, but none of the prompts when she went through the board felt like me. So I decided I was going to skip out this month on that one, and I think it's going to help all the plans I have. So with all that being said, let's dive into what last month looked like. The first prompt from last month was a book that you think to learn from. I chose Madly Deeply by Ellen Rickman as my nonfiction for the month, but I've changed my mind and I'm actually doing Viking, which is an Audible original that is by Scott McCormick. The next one was a recent purchase within the last month. I originally chose Never a Hero by Vanessa Lynn, but I changed that to The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund-Broca because I got this one last month as well. The next one was a book with a number in the title. I chose 10 Things That Never Happened by Alexis Hall, which is an arc that comes out in the middle, I think, of October. A recent purchase within the past year, I chose Hex Appeal. The TBR Vet, I originally chose the one by John Mars, but I changed my mind and did Finley Donovan is Killing It instead. Something from your Goodreads TBR, I realized in editing that I completely did the wrong numbers, but that's fine. But we chose The Shadow Cabinet by Juno Dawson. The next one was to read a book with a light cover. I chose The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. The next one was a mass market paperback. I chose A Prince on Paper by Alyssa Cole. So as far as how the month went, I read all but I think 3 things. So I didn't read Princess on Paper. I didn't get around to The Shadow Cabinet, and I didn't get around to Hex Appeal, although I have plans for this one later on in November. And then I'm technically not finished with my nonfiction, which was Vikings, but I've only got about half an hour left in this audiobook, and there's still a full day and a half or something like that left in the month. So I'm going to finish that one. So I have these 3 that I didn't actually get around to, which is totally fine, but that means we don't have any kind of benefits for October. So let's just hope and pray that the TBR is nice to me. So let's dive into the first pick. Number 1. I don't know why I did that. Okay. Ooh, Friends to Lovers. Okay. So the first prompt is Friends to Lovers, which was hard because I have a very specific TBR for this month, but I think this one is going to work. And this is a book that I actually picked up last month, so you will not have seen that yet, but it is Immortality, a Love Story by Dana Schwartz, which is the second in this duology by this author. The first one was Anatomy, and in the first book there's definitely a friends to lovers vibe within that book. Because this is a sequel, I'm assuming the same vibe is going to translate over into this book. So I'm gonna say this one because I really want to get this onto a spooky TBR, and technically it's part of the same series and the first one worked really well for this. So my game, my rules, this is what I'm saying. But in the first book, I kind of talked about this in my fall TBR. Actually, a lot of the books in here are probably going to look really familiar if you've seen my fall or autumn TBR. This one follows our main character, at least the first one did follow our main character, Hazel, who is in like gothic Edwardian Edinburgh and really wants to be a doctor, but because she's a woman, it is frowned upon to do that. But she really wants to be part of the Royal Edinburgh's Anatomist Society, and so she ends up striking this deal with a guy who's kind of like running the class for that, and he's like, well, you can't come to the class because you're a female, but I'll let you sit for the test. And so in order to kind of study the body so that she could actually do well on the test, she teams up with this guy named Jack, who is a grave digger, grave robber maybe, and he literally steals bodies from graves and sells them to anatomy professors and colleges and doctors so that they can study anatomy. And so he does the same thing for her, and so she kind of deep dives into what the human body is doing. But there's also this like flu plague type situation that's going around at the same time, and she's trying to figure out if she can possibly solve that. This one continues from the events of the first one. I know that royalty is involved. I think she becomes pretty close with Princess Charlotte, who is the sickly granddaughter of King George III. And so she is kind of dragged into the royal court a little bit. So I'm excited about this because I did enjoy the first one so much, and I'm really interested to see how the second one's going to be. Number 2. All right, read a book with an Asian main character or author. The next one is to read a book with an Asian main character or author. So this one, I don't think is actually stretching it too much, and that is Paper Girls, the first volume of this one. This one is one of those, you know, graphic novels I went down, what are the best spooky or cozy graphic novels for Halloween. This one, I believe, takes place on Halloween, and it has quite a few authors. Now, I know that graphic novels usually have more than one author. You've got the author and the illustrator, and I know from a deep diving that there's an author, an illustrator, and a colorist, and the illustrator is Asian. So that's where I'm going with this one. I don't remember a lot about what this one's about. I just remember it takes place on Halloween. It takes place in 1988, and it follows 4 12-year-old newspaper delivery girls as they uncover the most important story of all time, suburban drama, mystery, stuff like that. So it's given me 90s vibes, even though it takes place in the 80s, so like 80s, 90s vibes. But I've heard good things. Again, this one takes place on Halloween or around Halloween, so I'm excited about this one. I think it's going to be really good. But that's my answer, and also it's a short one and I could fit it. Number 3. There it goes. Ooh, fake dating or arranged marriage. The next one is a book that is fake dating or arranged marriage. I'm going for the arranged marriage kind of for this one, and I'm going to go with King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the first in her Adrian and Isolde series. I've had this one for quite a while, and this one is, I say it's arranged marriage because it's kind of, I mean, I assume it's arranged marriage. It's 2 royals marrying each other, but she is marrying him, and he's like a vampire lord, and she is going in the hopes of assassinating him because she cannot stand him. But then I think he figures it out, and there's way more to it than that, but this is for one of my kind of secretive TBR projects. I'm really excited about it, but I also really want to read this one because, well, I've got it. I've got this in a Unplugged, I believe, a couple of years ago, and I read the first in her Hades and Persephone series, and it was okay. It wasn't the most amazing thing I've ever read, but I did enjoy it, and I want to read this to see if that one just was super hyped up in my brain, and that's why it kind of fell a little flat, or if her writing just isn't for me, because I really don't know what I'm getting into with this one, but it's spooky, it's vampire. I'm excited to see. Number 4. All right. Oh, read a Jane Austen inspired book. The next one is a Jane Austen inspired book, which honestly is kind of perfect because I wasn't sure if I wanted to read this book or not, but I think just based on the fact that it's a third in a series that I have loved and it's the last one and I feel like I need to finish this one. So I'm going with Manslaughter Park by Tirzah Price, which is the third in this Jane Austen murder mystery series. I've read the first two, like I mentioned. It was Pride and Premeditation and Sense and Secondary Murder, I believe, were the first two. So this is the third one. It came out, I believe, last month. So I will be getting this one from my library. They have the audiobook there, I think, or Scribd. Somewhere I have found the audiobook. So it's inspired by Jane Austen, but it is a murder mystery. I don't know what this one is about specifically. I just know that it follows Mansfield Park, like the story of Mansfield Park, which is honestly my least favorite Jane Austen story. But I'm interested to see what she's going to do with this one. I've really enjoyed the last two. These are YA murder mysteries that are just kind of fun and take like the story and like completely turn it on its head. So I'm interested to see what she's going to do with this one, but clearly it is inspired by Jane Austen. But it's a murder mystery, so it feels perfect for this time of year. Number 5. And we're throwing things. Great. Okay. Read a paperback. The next one is to read a paperback, which is perfect. So I was able to fit in another book that I have for one of my TBR secret video vlog things that I'm doing. And that is A Deal with a Vampire Lord by Elise Kova, which is perfect for spooky season, obviously. So this one is part of her Married to Magic series, which is a series that I have loved and talk a lot about. But basically the idea behind this is these are standalone happily ever after stories that just happen to take place in the same world. They each follow a different kind of mythical magical creature. Obviously this one follows a vampire. We've had an elf and a fae already, and I know that there's a fourth one in the series, and that one follows a siren. So this one is inspired by Snow White meets Beauty and the Beast, so I'm interested to see how that goes. We follow our main character Florine, who due to some circumstances, she's like part of this guard, which their goal is to like get rid of vampires or protect their town from vampires. And something happens and the vampire finds her brother, and so she ends up trading places with her brother. And she and the vampire, I don't even know like what the point of it is, but basically like she's kidnapped to the vampire castle and is forced to in some sort of bargain with him. I don't really know, but it's a romance and I love this author and I'm interested to see what this one is. I really want to read this one in October because it just feels like the right time to read it. So spooky, but also romance. Number 6. We're gonna 6. Okay. Read a book ending in an even number. The next one is to read a book with an even number, or that ends in an even number. So this one, let me look it up because it is an even number. I'm just trying to remember what it is. 408 pages is what this one is. And that is Belladonna. And this is by Adeline Grace. This is the first in this series. I don't actually know what this series is called, but the second one I believe is called Foxglove. And I think there's at least 3, maybe 4. I'm not 100% sure how many are going to be in this series, but this one feels, again, perfect for the month of October where all the spooky stuff is happening. This one follows our main character, Signa, who is 19 years old and she was orphaned as a baby and basically has gone to a bunch of different houses and something has always happened. So she ends up moving to a different guardian and she finally finds this house, which is owned by the Hawthorns, which is a very eccentric family. And so the story really starts when she's just out in the garden one day and the matriarch of the family, who has recently died, shows up in like a ghost form and tells our main character, hey, I was actually poisoned, please figure out what happened to me. So she ends up teaming up with Death himself to figure out what happened. So if that does not sound gothic and spooky, I don't know what does. And I really, really want to get around to it. This is a fairy loot book that I've had for quite a while. I want to see if the rest of the series is for me. I don't think I've actually read anything by this author. I've heard of a lot of things by this author, but I'm not sure I've actually read anything by her. But don't quote me on that. So I'm interested to see what this one's about. It's giving spooky gothic Halloween vibes. So I'm excited. Number 7. Aha! Read a thriller or mystery. The next one is a thriller or mystery, which again, perfect for this time of year. So I'm going to go with The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. This one is my book of the month book from a couple of months ago. I got it hoping that I was going to get to it this fall because I really want to. It takes place in Victorian England. So this book follows our two main characters. The first one is a well-acclaimed spiritualist who's really gotten popular because she can communicate with the dead, specifically people who have been murdered. So not only do family members come to her, but like the police come to her as well. And then we follow our other main character, Lena, I believe is how you pronounce her name. And her sister has died, and she's kind of at the end of like her rope. Like she is trying to figure out what happened and she literally cannot get an answer. So she decided to go to this spiritualist to hopefully get some answers, even though she's not sure she believes in it. And then something happens and the spiritualist gets called to London to like help with the case, and she goes with her as possibly an assistant. So I'm not quite sure how she becomes the assistant or anything like that, but it's these two women figuring out murder mysteries, but it's ghosty, it's seancey, it's got all of those like spooky vibes, and I am very interested to see what this is about. It has been out for quite a while. I know it came out this year, but I feel like it came out early this year if I remember correctly, but there's just something that's not too long, and it just feels like perfect for this time of year, you know? And number 8. Read a book written by more than one author. And the last prompt of this month is to read a book that has more than one author in it, which is perfect for my graphic novel deep dive. So I picked one that is the one that I really, really wanted to get on this list. Like the minute I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to read this book. And it is called Scribd. And I'm just going to read to you what it says here on Goodreads because I think this is going to sum it up the best. It looks like it is a standalone, which is really interesting. And it says here that it's Pretty Little Liars meets Teen Wolf. And it's when a new girl is invited to join her high school's most popular clique. She can't believe her luck. And she can't believe their secret either. They're werewolves. So it's like popular girls in high school, but werewolves. So there's just something about this. This just feels like fun and spooky. And when I was deep diving into graphic novels, some of the ones that I was looking at kept comparing themselves to Scribd and saying that Scribd was better. So I'm excited to see how this one's going to work. I have it from my library, so I'll be reading it on our iPad just to see how it goes, but I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be so good. And then just a couple other things that I wasn't able to fit a nonfiction or middle grade. So for my middle grade, I'm going with another graphic novel, and this one is called Frizzy. And if I remember correctly, it is a celebration of black hair, if I am correct. Again, middle grade, real excited about this. Super easy, something I can kind of slip into the month. It looks beautiful, like this cover looks stunning, so I'm really excited about the artwork in here as well. It just looks really cute, and a graphic novel is definitely going to help me out this month. And then my nonfiction, if I have time for it, the one that I have chosen is a true crime story that I've had my eye on for a while, and I did get it from my library, so I can get both the audio and the ebook of this, and it is The Case of the Murderous Dr. Cream by Dean Job. This is a serial killer that took place in, I believe, Victorian England, maybe Edwardian England, but it's a historical true crime story of this doctor who kind of just went on like a serial rampage and killed a bunch of his patients. So don't really know what we're getting into there, but I'm trying this one out because in the past with true crime, I've discovered that historical has always been more interesting to me. So I'm going to try this one out if I have time and see if that is accurate. But that is my nonfiction for the month. And I think that's it. Like I said, I've got a couple of secret TBRs that I'm working on, so we will see those as they come out throughout the month, but that is my plan for the month. I'm surprised with how many things I was able to actually fit on that fit within that spooky theme, because that's really what I wanted. I wanted that spooky vibe, and I like that I was able to fit in a few graphic novels here and there because I just love a good spooky graphic novel, a cozy spooky graphic novel. So I was able to fit some of those in, which will help with some of the other books that I really want to get to, and just some of the plans and the lack of time that I have. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. As always, please let me know if you've read any of the books that I have mentioned in today's video, or if you have anything specific that you are planning on reading in October. Tell me all of your bookish thoughts down below. And if you want to comment something but you're not sure what to comment, comment a pumpkin or a jack-o'-lantern or something fall-y in the comments. Pick your favorite Halloween emoji and do that. But I like this video, and I very much hope that you did. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so check all that out. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!